Arrest you. He didn't drink tonight.
Okay.
Partner, he didn't drink tonight.
Let him check.
The conversation's over. Don't answer any questions.
Neither Iniguez nor his fiancée took a blood alcohol test. The criminal charges were later dropped, apparently after the statute of limitations ran out, while the state DOJ reviewed the arrest. I don't even know what that means. But Iniguez then filed a federal lawsuit against the Azusa Police Department claiming false arrest. And the city settled for $10,000, apparently because it was cheaper than fighting it. Apparently not because they thought their officers did anything wrong. Meanwhile, Iniguez refused to release this video until he was forced to by a public records request from the city. And here's where it gets even more interesting. According to a separate police affidavit, Iniguez actually threatened the arresting officer off camera, saying he'd see him again and calling him Brady. Here's why that's significant. The Brady list is a list of police officers who have a record of knowingly lying, and prosecutors have to notify defendants and their attorneys whenever an officer on that list is involved in their case. It can be career-ending for some cops. But after Iniguez supposedly made that threat, the California AG began investigating, which earlier this year led to an 11-count felony indictment against another Gascón aide, Diana Teran, for allegedly illegally accessing confidential disciplinary records of 11 LA County sheriff's deputies while she worked at the sheriff's office, and then taking that data with her when she worked to work at the DA's office and attempting to add those 11 deputies to the DA's own Brady list. Now, Teran maintains the info on the deputies was a matter of public record, but it sure seems like this all blew up in Iniguez's face with this video now coming out. Joining me now is Nicole DeBorde. She's a former prosecutor, currently a criminal defense attorney. She's experienced in dealing with cities, with lawsuits that end in taxpayer-funded settlements. Thanks very much for coming on the program. We appreciate it. So most cities are going to settle a case like this for $10,000?
I think certainly a case like this, yes. And the reason is that the city has to go through a calculus. How much is this case going to cost us to litigate when we might not get to the answer that we're hoping for? In other words, could they lose? And the answer in this instance is potentially yes. And is it worth, even though they could win, going through all of that at a cost greater, most certainly, than $10,000 to find out?
But this is why people file frivolous lawsuits. This is why we have the courts clogged with people suing cities and suing police departments and making claims about what the police did to them. And then finally we get this video, which sure seems to have him heckling the police. I mean, doesn't there have to be a line that cities draw that say, no, we're not going to keep encouraging this stuff to happen?
I think absolutely a city needs to be aggressive about not paying out on claims when they know that they're going to end with success on their end. The problem with this one is that it is, while certainly not something I would ever encourage, it's not against the law to be rude to the police. In other words, you have someone here doing what we certainly hope you would not find your own client or your own brother or sister doing on videotape in the way that they're talking to the police, but it's not a crime. And so the police are still acting professionally and doing what they think is the right thing under the law, but the arrest was never accepted as a charge. So the city has to go through the calculation in this point. If the arrest was rejected, are we going to get past the legal hurdles that we need to get past in order to win this case? Here's what the Azusa PD captain, Robert Lenderos, said about it.
When I saw this video, I do believe our officers were treated with disrespect, which does happen in the course of doing our duties. It's not uncommon. It's disturbing when it involves a public official.
And this is a statement from Iniguez's attorney, who says the video shows Mr. Iniguez was 100% without a doubt falsely arrested. He was lucid, calm, direct, and in full control. He took a false arrest and used it to protect the good citizens of Azusa, who are now, because of him, protected with body-worn cameras. Without body-worn cameras, more innocent citizens would be subjected to false arrests and defamation. I mean, this is a guy who's taking zero responsibility for his conduct here.
Well, it's definitely not conduct which is against the law. It certainly may be something that is reflected come election time,
But you're a
when
former
people get to
prosecutor.
decide whether or not they
Right.
want these individuals to be in office.
Right, but you're a former prosecutor, right? This is a guy who's the #2 in a prosecutor's office who is mocking the police who are just trying to do their jobs. That is not something prosecutors ought to be doing.
I tend to agree. It's certainly not a good look. And at the end of the day, a prosecutor answers to the public. And that is where the rubber meets the road here. There could also be potential ethical concerns with his state bar. That said, the issue for whether or not the city should have paid out is a complicated one for the city. They don't want to spend more taxpayer dollars than they have to. And this was their shortcut out.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.